I go back and forth between hating and loving. Today I woke up from a dream. It felt so real to me, like I was walking through the clouds, and you told me to tone it down. Well, if we disagree on what's important to you.
Welcome to episode 3 of the Team Self-Love podcast, a show about discovering your self-worth and helping you love yourself because you're worth it. I'm your host, Lindsey Michell, and I'm here with my guest, Nick Taniguchi. You can find him on social media for @Playgrounders on Twitter and @the_Playgrounders on Instagram. And he also has a podcast now, which is called The Crush Hour. Mm-hmm. You should tell me about that.
It is a podcast I'm working on about crushes, romantic feelings, and all that crazy goop.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So cute. So you live in Seattle now, right?
Yes, I live in Seattle now. I am working on getting my university stuff in order.
Nice.
And then,
Yeah, that's always a good thing. It takes some time, but you'll get
Way
it.
too much time. Oh,
Well,
God.
I mean, it's a process.
Yeah.
Everybody goes at their own pace, and you've worked and gone to school and everything, as I did too.
Yeah.
So and I'm almost done. You'll get there. Everybody goes at their own pace.
One day.
Yeah, soon, TM.
Soon, TM.
Yeah. So today actually is a different topic. We're talking about breakups, which is a hard topic, but I think really important, especially recently. For some reason, I personally know a lot of people that have gone through breakups. And it can be really difficult, and it can take a lot out of you, and sometimes it takes some time to realize that this relationship was not a good one.
Yeah.
And this whole podcast started for me personally from a breakup and from realizing that in my relationship, I wanted to help people and I wanted to help this person so much, but he couldn't be helped. But I realized I had all this love to give, and I wanted to guide people and counsel people, but I didn't really know how. And I wasn't going to change my major. I wasn't going to become a therapist because I'm almost done and I don't have time. But I thought maybe I could do this and share my experience and share all the things I have read and learned and whatnot. So
Yeah, props to Breakups for creating that, creative momentum in people.
Right.
Because, for sure, after I had, one of my, big breakups, I was like, I gotta give all this, love and creativity to something. And, I made, a whole album worth of songs.
That's so awesome.
And I just, oh, man, it's a terrible feeling to have, a breakup in a lot of ways, but, my creativity definitely did not suffer on that accord.
No. Yeah, and I think a lot of artists, too, in general, they always have such great songs after breakups, and I think because that emotional intensity just brings out a new side of you, you know?
I definitely think Taylor Swift goes through relationships and then breakups, solely for, the song.
Hell yeah, she's like,
right?
Another hit. But, I mean, at the same time, maybe some people, that's how they find art, or they find their muse.
Oh yeah.
For me too, I always go to the gym a lot more when I after a breakup, because I just want to get that angst out,
That's good. That's
and try to use it in a
I feel
positive
like
way.
a lot of people are the opposite of that, where they'll just be like, oh, breakup, and then just sit still for a year.
I mean, I ate a lot. I ate a lot for sure,
and
but
then you worked it off.
And then I worked it off. So, do you have a breakup story you want to share?
I do have a breakup story that I want to share.
Okay, it's so funny because that's such a sad topic, but you're so smiley all the time.
So
you're like, I have a
giddy.
breakup story.
I'm so happy because I've gotten to the point where it's just I swear, if I was talking about this 2 years ago, I'd be just super somber, and because I was going through it. But now I'm at a point where I've completely processed it, and
100%.
it's just I'm just let me tell you about my story.
Oh, let me tell you.
Let me tell you. I went through a pretty significant relationship in my life during high school, and we dated for about a year and a half before things kind of got sour towards the end. And then finally, in the summer of 2012 or 13, she broke up with me. And then I spent like a year, maybe a year and a half, or like maybe like 2 years, like seriously like getting over this and trying to process it. Definitely on the long side of like how long it takes to process things, especially considering like I was probably mourning that relationship longer than I was even in it.
But I think people do that all the time, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's normal. That's totally understandable.
And it was completely unexpected because when I was in the relationship and like conceptualizing what it would be like to break up, if that happened to come along, I was like, yeah, I'll get over it in like 2 weeks, a month. Like, I feel
Like, I'm
so dumb thinking that I could get through a very serious relationship to me in like a month. And I had convinced myself that that was the case like several times over.
Oh, yeah.
You know that thing in like the you know how they have like the something stages of grief where they're like the first stage is denial, and like I experienced firsthand that like that denial is like, it's like, oh yeah, I know that the first stage is denial, but I'm over it. And then like
You're denying the denial?
yeah,
Meta.
you deny the denial, and then like a week later you're like, oh no, what was I thinking?
Exactly. Oh,
It's
that's
crazy.
me.
And part of what I had to learn was there are things that you could do to help the process, but there really isn't anything you could do to like end it. You can only help the process, like
100%.
of healing. At least that was the case for me.
I totally agree with you on that. For me, yeah, I just think, well, plus with your relationship, that was your first love, right?
Yeah, that was my first love.
Yeah. This recent one, I think, was honestly my first love. So that was it. It's just that part's really hard of it about it. And for me, the first official day was like denial city. Like it was so fun. I saw all these people I haven't seen in so long. I was just busy all day, just distracting myself because I didn't want to be sad. Because I had days before we broke up, where I had been crying and crying and crying and crying. So I wanted that first day to be with people and to distract myself. And then after that, I got upset and I wanted my space. But for me, I think it was a long time coming, and we had a fight in May, and not really a fight, but I guess a long talk of trying to make things work. And he was going through a lot of issues, and him saying, you know, I want to be there for you, but I can't really be there for you. And then all of a sudden, you know, things started to change, and he couldn't be there for me at all. And it was just very difficult, because I found myself, as many people do, when things are difficult, giving and trying to make it work, and fighting and not knowing when to give up.
Yeah.
You know, and just like you keep going at it and keep wanting to make it work, but at one point there's a reason why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, and some people just aren't meant to be with each other, or it's not the right time, or, you know, you have different values. And there were many issues, but I couldn't see it when I was in it until I was out of it. And then that was when people told me, you know, certain things, or when I realized things about myself and about this relationship.
I definitely identify with what you talked about with like self-denial in the fact that there are problems. And I think, and that process towards the end of like trying so hard to make things work, to no avail, but like convincing yourself that like you have to go through it.
Yeah.
I had a similar thing happen to me, where it's like towards the end it got like really sour in my relationship, and I kept trying but like didn't know what I could do to save this relationship. And it like literally drove me crazy. Like I was thinking about this like constantly. It felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest. I was in summer school at the time, and I like couldn't breathe. And I felt like I had, like my partner had taken out like a lot of like very personal things on me, and I completely like internalized it in this way, like, what can I do to help that. And I feel like I denied myself kind of the satisfaction of like putting my foot down and saying like, hey, you can't treat me like this.
Hell yeah. That's another thing. Yeah. It's like you take so much and you don't even realize it. And then for me, at the end too, I was walking on eggshells constantly of, I can't say this because this might do this and this might affect him in this way. And sort of, it became my sole kind of purpose, and all my energy was going towards this one thing, to the point where I had not noticed that I really wasn't spending time on other factors and other parts of my life. And it was so frustrating.
Yeah.
And I mean, even at the end, it was, I guess my decision, it was a mutual thing, but it was more just, he was the one that started everything and not being assertive. And now I don't take no shit from nobody. Hell no. No, exactly. You have to be more assertive and say, you know, what you want and how you're doing and what your values are. And so for me, you know, they're important because you learn about yourself immensely. And I think I wouldn't have learned, if it weren't for him, that I need to step up and I need to be more assertive about how I'm feeling and what I want from my relationship and what I want from this other person, and that I have standards and that my standards are high, but there is someone that can meet those standards. And I should stop settling for someone that doesn't deserve me and that won't respect me or won't give me that love that I deserve and that I need. And if I'm going to be in a relationship, then it needs to be that good person. I'm not going to waste my time on someone who isn't worth it, because that's just it's just useless.
And one thing I keep hearing from people who I really look up to about like relationship stuff is that things don't have to be like crazy bad and abusive for you like to not be with someone or to break up
100%,
with them. It could just be like something dumb, but if you're not happy in the relationship, if it's not bringing you joy in the long term, if it's not bringing value to your life, you can end it, and it doesn't have to be like a big thing.
No,
I mean, that's easier said than done.
Yeah, oh yeah,
But
no, 100%.
I hold true to that, and I try to be aware of that in my life, because it's so easy to fall into like complacency and like stay in something even though it's not really like helping you, if it's making you sad, just because you like have like this little thing in the back of your head that's like, yeah, but you really love this person.
Or it's that comfort zone of like, you know this person and you know that you have this no matter what, and things might change, you know, I might be going through some big life changes, but at least I have X. And so it's kind of like that sort of comfort for you. And no, I don't think that has to be a big thing, but also I think it's important for me personally. I'm the type of person where if you don't tell your partner, your significant other, that you have an issue, and then it's not going to get resolved.
Yeah.
If you directly go up to them and you say, you know, I'm really upset about this. It hurts me when you do this, or I'm feeling as though blank, and they do not take that into consideration. They don't care about that, or they do the same thing again.
Yeah.
Then it's time to leave.
That's super true. And in relationships, I find that it's so important I find that how you manage conflict is almost more important than how you navigate like joy and like how much you love each other. In my previous major relationship, we never argued, which is like, at least not until like way later. But I think because we didn't set the groundwork for how to navigate conflict, it really screwed us up towards the end. And so like in all my like after relationships, I try to be like mindful of that.
That's good.
And speaking of which, I'm wondering, have you been through like would you say you're like pretty experienced in like relationships and breakups and stuff?
Oh, no. I would say, I mean, I've only dated a few people, and this was my first long relationship. We were together for about 9 months, so that was the first long-term thing really I was in. I don't feel like I have a lot of experience with it. I've experienced with dating people, not really being in that relationship. So for me also, that was difficult because I didn't really know what a relationship was like or what a good relationship or what a bad relationship was like, you know what I mean? Because you can ask people, but you never know until you're in the situation of what it's like or what you should expect or what the ground rules are. So
do you feel like there's something in particular that you want to like, good or bad, something that you want to take into your next relationship? If you want to have that. I don't know if you maybe.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I found that I can be very loving, and I think that he taught me that I need to address the fact that I am a very loving person, because there was always a barrier with me of, I would always say like, I don't care and I don't need affection, I don't need love, when that's not true about me. I do want love and affection, and I do want those things, and I don't think that I necessarily need to be in a relationship right away, but admitting the fact that I do like cuddling, I do like that part, you know, of being lame and saying, oh, I really like you, or you're really sweet, or things like that. I didn't realize that about myself. And so that comfort of knowing that I am an affectionate person and I can be affectionate, and also saying how I felt, because there were times where I would be upset and I would tell him how I felt, and the way I think I addressed it was really great, of saying, when you do this, I feel as though I didn't really like this when this happened or whatnot. So how I addressed conflict or got into conflict, I really admired about myself. I was like, wow, okay. Like, clap for your damn self, you know? Like, sometimes you have to do that. And so what about you? What did you take from that?
From the relationship, I definitely navigating conflict, like early on, like I won't get into an argument on purpose, but like the second we do have a conflict, I will make sure to like very, very, very like hyper focus on how we as a couple navigate that conflict.
Good.
And I will bring it up. I'll make sure we get through it from from A to Z, make sure to get through it, not like bury it under like niceties.
Good.
And create like a nice framework for how we solve problems. And then something that I definitely want to take away, definitely took away from that experience, just as far as like breakups go, is that I have kind of a policy where if I break up with someone or if they break up with me, I will make sure I will very cordially tell that person that, hey, I really like you as a person. This is mostly if they break up with me. I very cordially state that, hey, I really like you a lot. I would love to be friends with you maybe someday in the future if that's possible. And I make sure to be very clear about this, I will tell them that they have power over me. And so if I am friends with them at this point in time, it just can't happen, because there's such a difference in power dynamic. That like I will say like, hey, I love to be friends, gotta sort out my shit.
Yeah.
And then I'll just like, I won't put myself in a chamber. I won't like isolate myself completely, but I will isolate myself from that person. And
That's good.
Thank God for the unfollow button on Facebook. Gotta do the social media purge. Not purge, but like
100%.
Yeah, and the reason why I really love the unfollow thing is because it lets you get that isolation from that person. It gives you space, but it's not like I'm burning all my bridges. It's like it's not an act. It's not like a it's not like a performance thing, which is really easy for me to fall into because I'm a very performative person.
Me too. I'm very expressive.
If I do something for me, but I'm doing it for, like, if I'm doing something for me, but I'm doing it performatively, I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for the other person to see. Like, I'm doing it for the other person to see me do something for me. And that ruins it for me.
Exactly. No, but also, shouts out Facebook, because when I changed my relationship status on Facebook, as everyone does after a breakup,
As one does.
it said, we know how hard breakups are. And it's like, would you want to unfollow this person, unfriend this person, not see more posts of this person, not see pictures of this person? I was like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. Like, this is what I needed. And although, me personally, I believe that you need to assert if you need space, and I'm the type of person that needs space. And actually, this was a huge thing of my relationship of I was never assertive enough because even afterwards, I was not getting the space I needed. And then finally, I was at the point where I was like, I need to just unfriend you. I can't see you. I can't know that you're watching me, because that was a huge problem of, like, this person would look at my Instagram stories and I could see that they were, you know, kind of keeping tabs on me, and I couldn't do that. It was not helping my well-being. So I ended up blocking the person, but I really admire the fact that Facebook actually has that setting for you.
Yes.
So that you can, I know, it was phenomenal.
Praise Zuckerberg. not, I mean, he has his flaws, but
Yeah.
this was whoever came up with that at Facebook.
But I mean, that's wonderful that they have that setting for you, because they know that it's difficult to see this person and to get that space, but you still do want to be their friend. And I think it's great that you address the fact that in the future, you know, I'd like to be your friend, but right now I can't do that. And we're not in that position where we can be until you fully move on. And getting that space is crucial, at least for me personally.
And at the very least, if and this is for anyone who wants to try this out, at the very least, if you do this, it feels, can I swear on this podcast?
Yes.
It feels so fucking good to put your foot down about something.
Yes.
Like, different relationships, somebody, one of the first people I tried that out with, invited me to go see a movie with her. Like, very soon afterwards. Because, like, the whole reason she broke up with me was because she realized her feelings for me were more platonic. So it's like she really wanted to, like, cash in on that friendship. And then I sent her a message that's like, hey, if it's just the two of us going to a movie, I feel like I still have feelings for you, and that's really gonna fuck me up. I didn't say that like that, but basically I said, like, hey, that would really fuck me up. I would enjoy it, but it'd fuck me up.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Yes.
I sent the message, I was like, oh, I feel so good.
Right? And that's another thing too. You have to do the right thing, which is, if you know that you can't spend time with them, don't spend time with them. If you know you shouldn't be texting them, don't text them. I have a really good rule, and this is like my all-time favorite rule, which is thou shalt not drunk text, because I think it's important that you don't drunk text exes, people you're in a fight with, or a person that you have a crush on that doesn't know yet. Because I think that's when you get into some problems. And so I never do that.
Right?
What?
Once they know the floodgates are open.
Exactly. Well, but also, like, what happens though if, like, they don't like you back? You know, you need to. It needs to be one of those sober things.
Yeah.
So, for me personally, even at one point when my ex and I were still talking, he texted me and I said, I can't text you right now because it's just not healthy for you. And I think another problem is that a lot of people tend to try to numb their pain. And just in general, people try to do this, but after a breakup, I see this often of people want to drink a lot, or they want to, you know, smoke weed or do different things. And it's not healthy, because when you numb those feelings, you're numbing that creativity that you could have. You're numbing that progression you can make. And even though that time is hard, it's only temporary.
Yeah.
And then you get over it faster, and then you're a lot healthier in your coping.
True.
Right?
Have you ever seen the movie Fight Club?
Yes.
You know that scene
Years ago,
where
but yeah.
Tyler Durden, like, pours, like, some powder on his hand, and then it starts burning, and he's like, don't go off to your happy place, stay in the pain, feel the pain. That is a major, like, I hadn't seen it when I thought about this, but, like, I think it's so important to, like, not try to, like, of course, like, breakups are going to be painful, but, like, often the ways in which we try to escape that pain often either bring the pain back.
Exactly.
It's like you're investing in more pain later on.
Exactly.
Or, like, they fuck things up even further. Like, after my breakup, I literally felt like I was what's that thing where you're recovering from, like, where you go cold turkey from, like, a drug or something?
Oh yeah, you're going through relapse.
Withdrawals.
Withdrawals.
Yeah. I literally felt like I was going through withdrawals.
It is, in a way, because
yeah.
chemically, like dopamine, oxytocin.
And I wanted
Science.
to do everything in my power to make that pain stop. I wanted to text them. I wanted to do something dramatic. I wanted to like, I didn't drink at the time, but like whatever, any of that stuff. And one of the big things that I had to learn to make that pain go away was to understand that there's really no making the pain go away, and that I had to be present and experience it. And then something very magical happens when you're actually present and you experience your pain. Your body realizes that it's this painful thing. So after a while, gradually, it makes your brain stop thinking about it. Whereas if you just think about it peripherally, it kind of becomes addicting.
Yeah, it does.
And so I had to be present in the pain. My body would gradually realize that it's not something that I should be thinking about constantly. And there's a lot about being present that really helps. I even read this one book called The Power of Now that really helped me get through that. Basically, it's all about being present. I was like really sad and going through Barnes and Noble, and it's like, hey, do you have this one book that could help me?
Hell yeah, I love Barnes and Noble though.
And then the Barnes and Noble guy was like, yeah, I got you. And he comes out the book and he like hands it to me, and it's like, this is gonna help you. Aww. I'm like, okay. And I read like through the book, and it really helped me like control, because I have like very like thought spirally aspects. And I think it might be like rooted in my ADD as well, because it's like I'll think about the thing that I want to think about like forever and ever and ever, and nothing else. And so like learning how to be present and get like from that brain space and that spiral into like being present about your body and your breathing and like where you are and the current moment, like was one of the major turning points for how I learned to. That was the turning point from when I was like crazy in pain all the time to like actually like on my way to recovery.
Good.
And then the second thing that helped me was something you did.
Really?
Yeah. So we were hanging out as a group, and then we broke off and we went on a walk.
Talk about this.
And then we started walking by the place where my breakup happened. It was this bench by a pond. It was really pretty. And so I stopped and I was like, hey, I just want to take a moment to stop here because, like, and I explained that really sad thing had happened to me there. And you, like, jump between me and the bench. And then you're like, hell no, we have to create, like, a new memory here. You can't just be, like, thinking about your breakup every time you go by this bench because it's, like, right outside my house.
Yes.
And, like, you give me this, like, big old speech about, like, self-love and, like, learning to rewire your brain for new memories. And you're like, yeah, we have to go by like all these places you have memories, and we're just gonna create new memories. And like right then and right there, like obviously I will probably always associate that bench in part to my breakup. But I feel like there's a much more, or like a very intertwined part of it is I'm always going to remember that time that you gave me that self-love speech.
Yeah.
And like, after that, like I definitely went on this like self journey of like going around to places where I had strong associations and memories, and I'd create new ones.
Oh,
and it like
good.
felt like really good, and
Yeah.
it definitely went a long way. It helped me out. It helped me get over the hurdle. And
Yes.
I'm very appreciative for that, and that's why I think it's like really good that you're making this podcast.
Thank you.
Because you're just full of those moments.
Yeah, and that's actually something I wanted to talk about too, because I think you need to give yourself some time to heal, but once you feel a little bit better, to make new memories at these old places. And I actually have just been starting to do that. I went to the bowling alley the other day with my friends, and it was sort of, you kind of have that, you sort of lose your breath a little bit of like, oh God, here we are again, you know? And we had all these memories here, but it's important to make these new ones with people that you love and care about, and eventually, you know, there's still that memory of that person there, but it gets smaller. But it's not fair for you to stop living your life and to stop going places, especially when it's your own hometown. You can't not go to certain areas just because this person that you cared about was, you know, there. If so, I wouldn't be able to go through like part of Costa Mesa and different aspects, different streets, you know. You can't live like that. It's not good. So it does take a little bit of time to get there, but that's a huge practical way of moving forward, is actually going to those places and making new memories and spending time with your friends, people who really truly care about you. And I always think about, actually, gonna be sappy, but when I went through my breakup, I listened to your song. It's like I couldn't write an angry song about you even if I tried. But it's like, at least I'm gonna spend a little time with my friends and just spending time with the people that truly know you and love you and support you no matter what. And they're there to listen to you, but at the same time, they distract you because they know you need that. Because they know that you're thinking about that when you're on your own and whatnot. So
This is gonna completely like undermine what I said about being present, but like there is kind of like something good about distracting yourself if it's a healthy distraction. One of the things that really helped me was just getting a part-time job.
yes,
Something that like
ooh,
took
yes, jobs.
away time that I was focusing
too.
on the job, and it's not an unhealthy thing because I'm getting paid.
But it's taking that time and being productive, because I think it's about balance of
Yes.
being self-reflective, but then also distracting yourself. Because if you're spending all your time analyzing and thinking, you're never going to move forward. You're never going to live in the present.
Yeah.
And so it's that balance, and making money or doing something productive. That's why going to the gym for me was really helpful, because I felt as though I was doing something. And after my breakup, I actually started making new memories and new experiences where I'd go to fitness classes and go to the farmer's market and sort of do these fun things that I always wanted to do with him, but he didn't want to do, and so I just decided to go and do it myself.
That's
because it's
also
like,
a
hell
very
yeah.
like satisfying thing.
Right?
Like enjoying the perks of being single, also really amazing.
Right?
Question.
Yes.
How do you feel about rebounds? Do you feel like after having a relationship it really helps to like go out with new people, or are you like, gotta spend time by yourself, gotta just figure out who you are on your own?
For me personally, I don't like that idea of a rebound. I'll talk to people, but I don't want to do that, because especially if I like really respect the person that I'm talking to or that was interested in me, because I think when people break up, there's always a sense of like, this person's single now, and so all of a sudden the messages flood in. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? And you're like, oh gosh, here we go. And I personally needed space.
Yeah.
I needed that time to move forward and to be on my own. But I think that it really depends on the situation.
Yeah.
And how the severity of the breakup, and like how, because I feel as though some people, the breakup is fine and they're okay and they're friends and they can move on and move forward, or they're already interested in someone else. And so, I don't know, things happen. But for me personally, I needed to get that space.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's something like kind of volatile about the image of like a rebound. That like when I went through the breakup, I was like, I kind of avoided doing any kind of rebound thing because it felt like such a cliche.
Right? Of like, I'm going to move on to someone new,
So I like really withheld that from myself. But like in retrospect, I wish that I had been more like quicker to rebound. Even though like as much as people try to avoid it, there is something like, there's a reason why they call it a rebound. And
Yes.
It's like, it's less, in a sense it felt less meaningful when I did it. Not saying that's always the case, but it's like, A, you'll never know unless you like try, and B, I forgot what I was gonna say for B.
Oh no!
And B, some people like don't want to be like your serious like dating partner like right after.
That's
like,
true.
There are probably people out there who would totally enjoy being a rebound.
Exactly. Open and honest communication. And there are people, I mean, I think everybody has those few people. Yeah. So, and that's okay though, and that's completely understandable and completely valid, and you move on in the way that you move on. But I think for me personally, I process things differently. Personally, I think that I am very much someone who kind of becomes an introvert, which is not really me at all. And then I also don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't text the person, I don't try to rebound, because I need that time to just completely feel this pain, this utter pain, and then move on.
Stay in the pain.
I feel it so immensely, and then I move on very quickly, which is not normal, I guess. Like, I already feel a lot, honestly, I feel a lot better, and I feel as though I'm already moving forward and moving on.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed talking to people from my podcast, where we talk about like relationships and romantic goop, is that a lot of people think that the way that they process emotions and romantic feelings or feelings of rejection is like kind of an outlier. But more and more, what I'm hearing is that like from people is that like there really isn't a normal way to process like emotions and all that kind of stuff. Like we all have our like, own unique quirks and timing for how our emotions work, and part of what I've been striving to do in order to better my relationships and my own emotional life is not to understand like how do people like what is the perfect way to do this, but like to understand what are my timings, what's my like brain chemical balance, and how do I navigate that?
Exactly. And with this podcast and with our advice in general, it's, take it the way you like, because for me personally, try something, just see how you feel when you do it, and it might not be best for you, but it's all just your personal feelings, because emotions aren't logical, they aren't a concrete way of thinking. In therapy, actually, they would do this thing where you take an emotion and you take a specific feeling from the emotion, and then you make a chart in order to break it down into a logical sense.
I love that.
And in order to process it. It was very interesting.
And that sounds really cool, because it's like, I definitely think it's a science, and you have to be a scientist about it. Like I took like that part alone, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to take any advice from anyone. I'm just going to find my own way. But it's like, no, you do things on your own, take advice from other people, try it out. If it doesn't work, throw it away. If it works, like grab onto that.
Exactly. And so also for me too, though, there were great things in my relationship. I did love this person. We did have fun. We did have a lot of fun times. And for me, I know that later on in my life, I will want to reflect. I will want to think back and like think about those happy times, even though there are hard times too. But for those memories, I actually have like specific items, and I put them in my shoebox of like memories. And so later that, this person isn't a villain, but they aren't your savior. They're that sort of in between. They're just a person, and they have pros and cons, but it's good sometimes later on to remember like the good things about them. So I put stuff of like specific, right? Yeah, everybody has a box, like and so it's later on you can look at it and think like, of like what happened to us? No, I'm kidding. Of these times that you had and that you really enjoyed, and I'll never forget them. But just because I had fun at that point doesn't mean that I need to stay in it now. It doesn't mean I'm happy now. So I think that's also a huge part of it. So yeah, a few things of the practical sense that we talked about was being productive, the shoebox, reflecting, making new experiences, and then also finding resolution, because I think for me personally, I need closure. I know some people, they don't need closure, or sometimes you don't get closure, which is hard.
I rushed into the closure.
Yeah.
And I think it ended up.
That sounds like a song.
I rushed into the closure.
Hell you. I rushed into the closure.
And like, because I was so eager to have that, I think I made an ass of myself like several times. But it's like, obviously like try it out if you can. That is an amazing feeling. But like, don't like try to force it if it's not there yet.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. But for me, I needed that resolution and that closure of this is why this happened, or this is how I was feeling.
Was it like a kind of like a post-mortem talk with your ex-partner?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we talked a few times. Like I called him on the phone, and then we texted and stuff like that, and just of questions that I had, or things that, when you start to reflect. I agree with
that. You have to write down a list of questions, and if the other person is willing, if the other person is in a good space too, where you can talk about this, definitely like get the questions out of the way.
Oh yeah.
That's gonna haunt you.
Yes.
Get those out of the way like immediately.
Yeah, and then let it go. At one point you just have to let it go, and you just have to know that this was this is what happened, and you learn something from it, and you don't forget it, but this made you who you are, and that's what it's about. And so that's why breakups are a part of self-love. They are a part of that process of getting there.
That really did help me get there. I probably
Right?
wouldn't love myself as much as I do now if that wasn't if I didn't go through a breakup.
Right? Yeah.
Because I actually took for granted the fact that like liking myself. I took that for granted. And it was only when I felt like I hated myself that I actually like got to like build up my self-confidence.
Oh, good. And now you feel more confident and you feel happier. Hell yeah.
Team self-love.
Team self-love. That's what's up.
Name drop.
Hell yeah. Okay, also, by the way, you can follow us on social media. Instagram is at team_self_love. And then Facebook, it's Team Self-Love 2. And at Twitter, it's at Team Self-Love.
Do you still have the hashtag?
I do still have the hashtag Team Self-Love. And then our podcasts come out every Tuesday, so it's hashtag Team Self-Love Tuesday. And then, but thank you so much, Nick Taniguchi, for being on the podcast again.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, oh, it was so fun. I'm excited to be on your podcast.
I know, we're going to do a little crossover thing.
Hell you.
So if you want to check that out, please do.
Yeah, please check out the Crush Hour by Nick. Again, his handles are at Playgrounders on Twitter and at _Playgrounders on Instagram. And yeah, thank you so much to Melissa Schiller. Her song is Do or Do Not, There Is No Try. You can find it on Spotify from the album Misunderstandings. Just remember, you are worthy of love, acceptance, and happiness. Don't ever forget that, please, please, please. And I love you, but most importantly, you love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye, guys.
On what's important to you or me, I will try soon to come down from my non-reality.